Where my ladies in their 40s and 50s at? Okay, so before we go on this little adventure, first, youngins, get your moms, your aunts, and your grandmothers over here. Second, please subscribe, especially if you're a woman in midlife. This channel is a love letter to you. So a group of men in their 70s and 80s go to a monastery. They pass through the door and enter a time warp. Everything is from 20 years earlier, and they are asked to act as if they're 20 years younger. A week later, their vision, memory, movement, all improved. So we are going to do a mini experiment. Okay, so I am going to drop you off in the 80s for 5 minutes while I tell you an 80s love story through song. And I give you permission to act like your 1980s self. If you want to stay back in the day longer, there is a playlist with every song you're about to hear linked below. Side note, this isn't an anti-aging experiment, it's a state of mind experiment, because when we perceive ourselves to be more vibrant, our cells and tissues, they get the message. All right, here we go. See you in the 80s. I was working part-time. My boss was Mr. McGee. He was 6'4" and full of muscle. And walk like an Egyptian. But I was happy to be stuck with him on another manic Monday. While I was busy, I overheard him make a careless whisper. He told 2 of my co-workers Jack and Diane that I told him to say what you want, but don't play games with my affection. He said, time for me to say I'm sorry. And don't worry, be happy. Then he was so, it just took, I couldn't fight this feeling anymore. I asked him, what's love got to do with it? He said, get out of my store and out of my dream, another one bites the dust. So I figured I went home and called my girl. You already know the number. She was on the other line with. They were talking about. That blew my mind. Was she really going out with him? I told her to. But she was looking for a new love. Hasta la vista, baby. I thought. I called up my old West End girls, hoping they'd want to go dancing and first I called. She told me to. I called Rosanna, her sister Christian, rains down in Africa, and then hung up on me. No answer. I thought about calling, but he was always flying all around the world. Nobody told me there'd be days like these. I was feeling like the then out of the blue. Best friends girl, Roxanne. She calls. Yes. I'm the real Roxanne, and you know what she said? And that she wanted to. Well, I said, I thought you were. She said, you don't have to pull on the red light. Roxanne. But and at that
There is always something there to remind me
of her. And I just knew that. I wasn't about to.
Lottie-dottie.
I jumped in my and
Electric Avenue.
I got my mind set
her. When I got to her
house in the middle of our street.
I rapped on her front door, and to this rapper's delight, I heard a voice say,
Who can it be now?
Here I am, the one that you love.
I said.
Pick my love up in the door.
And I was immediately lost
In your eyes,
those.
any day besides.
I told her.
I will be right here waiting for you.
After all,
That's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
plus,
Just wanna hide.
I felt it was too.
What's the move?
I told her
For you.
I grabbed some
You say
because we were.
Hungry like the wolves.
But she said,
I want candy.
I said, oh.
Just eat it. Eat it.
Just then I felt on my shoulder, said a familiar voice. As I did, Jesse hit me with a of an uppercut that spun me. He was and continued to. I said
Hit me with your best shot.
he knocked him.
Beneath my wings.
Broken wings.
By this time, he
Me tonight.
beating me from until my were and blood was spilling from my mouth like you don't owe me.
Money for nothing.
He snarled. Why does at this point I crawled back to my and drove home thinking how my head how it seems that
Every rose has its thorn.
do I guess in the end you have to
Listen to your heart.
and
Don't stop believing.
love you.